Hey my little panda cubs, so this video is for you out there who don't feel very valid, you feel like you shouldn't exist. I'm here to tell you that you are valid, you should exist, I'm glad you exist, and my baby girls, and my baby boys. You have always existed. We've existed since the beginning of time. Now, if you're a right whinger, here to complain about our existence, I invite you to stick around. You might learn something in this video. That's if your teeny tiny peanut brain, that's somehow even smaller than your penis, can handle processing new information. I doubt it, but let's go back 7,000 years ago to ancient Sumeria, where they had a group of people called the Gala. These were worshippers of a goddess called Inanna. She was the goddess of love, sexuality, fertility, and war as well, which depicts both her feminine and male side. But she had an amazing power. She had the power to turn boys into girls and girls into boys. 7,000 years ago, they had a literal goddess whose power was to turn you transgender. If being transgender was a new thing, and it didn't always exist, then how did they have a concept of gender and crossing genders 7,000 frickin' years ago? Now, the Gala, which were her high priestesses, and I use the term high priestesses, these were assigned male at birth people, but they would speak a dialect that was reserved specifically for females. So they spoke the female dialect, they dressed femininely, they lived as women, and some of them, not all, but some of them would even castrate themselves, sacrifice their maleness to show Inanna that they wished to live as a woman. Inanna was a great protector of transgender people. She loved gender non-conformity. You'll find this interesting because this wasn't isolated to ancient Sumeria, because when we go to ancient Rome, several thousand years ago, they had something called the Gallus. Sound familiar? Again, assigned male at birth, all of them would castrate themselves to give up their maleness, and again, they would dress femininely, they would live as their lived gender. This was to a goddess called Sibyl, or Cybele. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Otherwise just known as Gali, who actually just sounds like the new name for Inanna. Like the goddess Inanna has gone through many names throughout history. You know, she started as Inanna in Sumeria, in Arcadia, she was Ishtar, in Rome she was Cybele, and of course in Greece she was Aphrodite. Again, Aphrodite, the goddess of love, sexuality, beauty, fertility, and interestingly, Aphrodite was also a patron of transgender people. Now, if transgender was new, and transgender didn't always exist, then why do we have fricking goddesses that were literally our patrons back in ancient times? And again, her priestesses were feminized, assigned males at birth. Going back to Rome, there was a Roman emperor called Elagabalus. Am I saying that right? Elagabalus. Yeah, the Emperor Elagabalus once declared, "Do not call me Lord, for I am a lady." For the purpose of this video and respecting her transition, she was born male, but felt like a female. She wanted to be female, and she did. She lived as a female. She dressed like a typical female of those times in Rome. She even married one of her male slaves. And there's writings to say that this early transgender woman, a Roman empire, once offered half of the empire's wealth to any doctor that could figure out how to turn her penis into a vagina. So here we are, 2,000 years ago, a Roman emperor, born male, was going by she, her pronouns, dressed femininely, socialized femininely, married her male slave, and was seeking gender reassignment surgery, offering half the wealth of her empire to any doctor that could provide some gender affirming care. Does that sound like new? Does 2,000 years ago sound like a new fad?
I don't think so.
There's also the Scytherian Inaris. Well, I'm probably butchering these words, but the Scythian Inaris, these again were assigned males at birth, but they dressed as women, they socialized as women, they spoke like women, and performed the typical gender roles of women of their time and culture. These people were revered. You know, in ancient times, trans people were seen as almost like goddesses. We were certainly seen as like revered as high priestesses, something divine, something holy. That doesn't mean we had it any easier back then, by the way. That's a misconception. It wasn't like an LGBT paradise back in Mesopotamia and Rome. Ironically, transgender individuals back then would face sexism, right? They were viewed as women. They had their gender identity accepted by the ancient world. Transgender people were accepted. They were seen as priestesses. They were seen as women, but that meant they also had to abide by that patriarchy's laws against women. They lived by the same rules and laws as other women. So although they didn't face the transphobia that we do now, they did, however, face the exact same sexism and oppression as other women. Hatshepsut. And no, that's not me sneezing. Egyptian pharaoh. Oh my god, how the hell do I even say that one? Hatshepsut was an assigned female at birth pharaoh who adopted male attire, male regalia. He would wear a fake beard and was often depicted in statues with a male body. This was in 1479 BC, so we're talking, what, a good 3,000-4,000 years ago here. Does that sound new? Does that sound like, modern social media, social contagion?
No, I don't think so.
A frickin' Egyptian pharaoh was a trans man 4,000 years ago. And again, let's go back 3,000 years ago, and this time to India. In the Mahabharata, the great Indian texts, is the story of Shikandi. Now, Shikandi was assigned female at birth. He was supposed to be a princess, but didn't want to be a woman and didn't want to be a princess. He wanted to be a man, and so transitioned into a man. And this trans man was revered for his great warrior skills. So there we go. 3,000 years ago, even in India, they had the concept of going from one gender to another, and even had a great trans man warrior. There's also evidence of ancient HRT. Now, while the high priestesses of Gala of the Sumerians and the Gali of Rome, they would castrate themselves because they knew the effects that would have on testosterone production. And they also had a rudimentary understanding of estrogen too. They would consume the root of a licorice plant, for example, because the root of a licorice plant actually has testosterone blocking properties. And they knew this. They wanted to feminize. Now, there is also a theory, a pregnant mare, it would be full of estrogen. So there is a story that they would consume the urine and milk of a pregnant mare in order to feminize. I'd love this to be true, but sadly I've been researching it this morning. There's no direct evidence of that. There is of the licorice root, and there's certainly evidence of them using other herbal plants and animal products to feminize, to block testosterone or increase estrogen. But the problem with the pregnant mare theory is you just wouldn't be able to drink enough of it for it to have any negligible effect. You'd have to drink like 25 gallons of it a day. But there are small bits of evidence that they actually took the milk and urine of a pregnant mare and would put it into clay pots and actually make a kind of cheese with it. So they would concentrate it into a cheese, and these feminized ancient transgender women would consume this cheese along with other herbal remedies such as the licorice root to help with their female form. The existence of transgender people isn't anything new. The ancient world knew we existed. The ancient world accepted our existence. In fact, pretty much the only place in the world where it's not accepted to be transgender, where being transgender gets you hate and violence, are Eurocentric countries, white countries. If we go to North America, we've got the two-spirit, the third gender of the Native Americans for hundreds, if not thousands of years. We've also got the Nardlihi of the Navajo people. I know I'm butchering these words, but Nardlihi basically just means one who is transformed. This refers to feminized males or masculinized females. We've got the Hijra of South Asia, which is a recognized third gender in India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, which includes transgender, intersex or unique individuals. And just like the ancient transgenders, these Hijra, even today in these places, are revered and often perform at people's birthdays and ceremonies and weddings and births, and perform blessings on them. Being transgender is nothing new. We've been here since the dawn of time. Mate, I existed before your god did. My goddess Inanna existed thousands of years before Yahweh did. Or whoever it is you bloody worship. We've always been here. We've always been here in history. We've always been a great part of history. And for much of history, we've always been a revered and worshipped and loved and adored part of history. Being transgender is nothing new. Being a transphobe, now that's new. That's a social contagion born out of insecurity of tiny penis white males. And believe me, if I have it my way one day, you'll be on your knees worshipping me once more, my son. Zippity! Thank you so much for watching my video. Please consider liking, subscribing and pressing that bell button. It really helps me in the algorithm. And remember, I do have a Discord server. The link to that is in the description. Thank you so much, Patreon babies. Your support means so much to me. Big Sis loves you. Zippity!